Like and subscribe right now, or this will be in your bed tonight.
Hello everyone, welcome back to iRead'em. As usual, we have another episode of ProRevenge today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell icon for more videos. This will also really help my channel out. Thanks. Whoa guys, did you know that we now have official merch for this channel? We now have an amazing mug that you can order today. It's very high quality and features a minimalistic channel logo on the front, and on the back is everyone's favourite subreddit r/ProRevenge. You can now order one today with the link in the description. It is available in a wide selection of countries, so please check it out. So who would not want to drink out of this amazing mug in the morning for your tea or coffee? And also with each sale you're already helping me out. With each sale a percentage goes to me, which will support me to continue to make more daily Reddit videos, and hopefully then in the future I'll be able to make multiple videos a day for you all to enjoy. So yeah, the link is in the description, please check them out, and if you decide to purchase one I'll be really grateful. Thanks.
Try to stiff rent money owed? Enjoy having your drug habit exposed and losing your new house? Hello again everyone. I've another story from my dad and he allowed me to share it here. Honestly, when I first heard it from him I thought it would be a petty revenge, but the consequences were much more than that, so I'll assume it'll be r/ProRevenge material. The story: my dad had tried his hand in renting out houses, albeit it's only one house and he had only one renter. He's a soft heart, and couldn't bear to force a family into the streets when rent wasn't paid. The renter was his work colleague, and they were acquainted at best. This man would give every excuse in the book when he couldn't pay his rent, all of them relating to his toddler son. Medical bills for his son, formula and diapers, birthday gifts, so on and so forth. My dad accepted these excuses, allowing his colleague to delay the payment and never once tried to deduct from the deposit. 6 months later, his renter decided to move out. Turns out the jackass bought himself a nice terrace house out in a good suburban area. He knew my dad was a patient and generous man and decided to take advantage of that. My dad, in his words, was pissed, but more than that, disappointed. He decided that he'll stop renting as he figured he would lose more than what he'll earn. Thus, the house was sold. A few days later, my dad approached his colleague wanting to know why he'd stiffed him of his rent money. This took place in the middle of the office with everyone still at their cubicles or milling around. Dad, colleague. I've heard you've bought a house. If you had money for the house, why couldn't you pay for the rent? Colleague, you know or not, my son keeps falling sick. Ever since I stayed at that house you rent, my son always fever, always coughing. Dad, what has that got to do with me or that house? Colleague, I think I know why. That house is haunted. Got jinn, genie, malevolent or mischievous, and shaitan, devil/demon. You're a new Muslim convert, right? Something must have been pissed at you for converting. Because of that, my son is suffering. For context, us Malaysians still hold on to some superstition, though it's more prevalent in the older generations. Be it due to culture or religion, superstitious beliefs are still embedded here. A rented house being haunted usually means little to no potential renters, and a sullied reputation. This ticked my dad off. At this point, everyone had tuned into this drama being unfolded. Raising his voice, he laid down the truth bomb. Dad, I stayed in that house for 2 years with my wife and small children. Nothing happened. You know why your son keeps falling sick? When I went to inspect that house to sell it, the whole place reeked of drugs. Every room in the house smells like marijuana. Your son keeps falling sick is because you smoked drugs around him 24/7. If you ever been slammed by the truth so hard that it left you speechless, that was essentially what happened. Colleague was stunned. Mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for breath, before turning around and walking away. My dad, having vented that, left to do his own business. Colleague not denying outright that he didn't do drugs caused the rumor to spread like wildfire, with him ending up needing to do a drug test. Unsurprisingly, he failed that, which led to him being let go. Now you may think that's the end. Drug use in Malaysia is seriously frowned upon here, even if you do it recreationally. Not to mention that other job prospects usually looked into your record and reason for resigning your last job. Having being let go due to failing a drug test is an automatic resume into the bin. No job means no income. No income means colleague can't make the monthly installments for his new house. As my dad found out, it has been auctioned off by colleague's bank to another buyer. As he told me this, my dad never wanted to ruin colleague's life like that. He told me he should have just kept his mouth shut, that him knowing colleague was doing drugs in close proximity to his son was good leverage for colleague to pay his rent. It was in the heat of the moment action and such. Dad never pressed to get his 6 months of rent money back. Considered it halal, meaning in his eyes, colleague's debt to him was voided. I don't know. Perhaps this was just karma by God for colleague lying to my dad and stiffing him his rent money. Just needed my dad to be a pawn in his plan to punish colleague in this life. The revenge was undeniably unplanned, but goddamn is it pro to me. TL Drive, renter stiffed my dad money owed for rent and blamed it on house being haunted. Dad expose his drug habits in front of everyone in the office. Edit, fixed typos edit 2, to avoid the Rule 11 strike, I've discarded the abbreviation of colleague to C. I got fired, employers' lawyers should have done their homework. I did. This happened to me about 20 years ago while in college. I am being deliberately vague because, reasons. Background. I got a job basically office sitting on weekends. I showed up at 8 AM and every hour I checked over things, handled the occasional phone call, and then left when the 4 PM person arrived. Most of the time I read, watched TV, or played games on my laptop. I probably worked no more 10 minutes of every hour unless something went wrong. It went on like this for years. The pay was decent, holidays were double pay, and I even had opportunities to cover weekday shifts when others were sick. One day while I was covering the midday shift, my boss asked me to come into his office. He told me that the evening weekday position was going to become available that night. He offered me the position which I accepted. I was told to punch out and return at 5 PM that night. The reason it went down like this should be obvious. Things went okay for a while. I showed up at 4 PM, did the normal things, and then left at 12 AM when my relief arrived. It was a little more work, more call volumes, etc. Then, after 9 months, things started to go south. The daytime person developed a huge attitude problem and went from a nice person to a total Karen. She would complain about everything I did. For example, one time a system jammed up at a remote site and she called them. 5 hours later I saw the jam was still there, so I called that site again to see if they were still working on it or if something else was wrong, because the woman on our end who would be the one to help them was leaving soon. They did have a problem and so I hooked them up. My reward for making sure the problem got solved and not having to bother an upper-level employee at home, on a Friday, just after having left work? I got yelled at because Karen complained that I had apparently ignored her log entry about the issue. My defense was ignored. The boss had me highlight important things on the log to verify that I had read them. Things plodded on for a while with this new normal. I tiptoed around Karen when needed, thankful for the fact I only had to deal with her for no more than 5 minutes. I did the stupid highlighting thing and my log entries started getting more and more detailed, even referencing Karen's calls when I had to follow up on an issue that crossed shifts. The firing. The following summer, just after I crossed year mark, I went on vacation to visit some friends out of state. When I got back, after about a week, my boss came down after everyone had left and had me describe how I did a certain task which involved certain updates. I explained to him how I did it and so forth. He then told me that I had not been doing it at all and that he was firing me. I had transposed the date code of the English file for the French file, which was the previous one. The newest one had already been applied anyways, so nothing was wrong. It was just a reason to get rid of me. So I left the office. My state is an at-will employment state, which means that I can quit at any time for any reason and my employer can terminate me at any time for any reason. The only exceptions were state and federal laws such as race, religion, etc. I thought I was screwed. So I just started applying everywhere I could. During my job search I happened to accidentally stumble upon a link about employment law. Out of curiosity I read it and discovered that my employer had shot themselves in the foot. In the employee handbook, there was a job security clause. What this stated was that they would never lay us off and such if our jobs were eliminated. We would simply be retrained and sent to fill an opening elsewhere in the company. It sounds good, but it resulted in them cooking up reasons to fire people to get around it. But their fancy, high-priced lawyers had missed something. In my state's laws, the ones passed by the legislature, I was screwed because of at will. What they neglected was case law, the ones determined by courts. This site cited a case from the state's Supreme Court that had ruled that a job security clause waived at will on the employer side, turning it into a just cause relationship. This means that they had to have a real reason to fire me. The revenge. With that in hand, I sought out a lawyer. After my consultation with her, I set about collecting my evidence. My former boss did not realize that I knew more about this program than he did, seeing as I ran the same software on my own computer and laptop. I experimented. The date of the file, which they tried to use against me, is baked into the version 2. I was able to demonstrate to my lawyer that if I applied the same update over and over, which my former employer stated would change the date every day, would, in reality, display the date of the file. I showed this by backdating my own copy by a year using the update archive available from the vendor. Next, I showed her how the task used to be automated. A script would snag the file and process it every day on its own. A change on the vendor's site broke the script. It was an easy fix, but no one bothered to do it because the guy who had wrote it retired. The fix involved deleting 3 characters on one line in the script. The task was also marked as only being a weekday task. In my firing I was told how important this update was and so forth. If it was so important, why was it not done on weekends or holidays? The vendor pushed out updates on those days too, as I showed my lawyer the one from Christmas morning. And why had the automation not been fixed? With all that in hand she contacted them. After presenting them with the law they broke and all the evidence I had collected, they were forced to settle with me. So in the end, their fancy high-priced lawyers did not do their homework. I did. Thank you to the wonderful librarians I have known in my life who taught me my information literacy skills. They paid dividends in this case. TLDR, I got fired by a large corporation and though I had no recourse. Then I found out their lawyers missed something in my state's laws and forced them to pay me. Edit 1. Obviously the terms of the settlement are confidential and, a fake, still in effect. It was a good portion of my salary though. I did also get unemployment during this time as well. I never found out how the reaction went down, as the main corporate office that would have dealt with it was in another state and I never had any contact with those people. I imagine a new handbook was issued before they cut my check though, so I feel bad for those who remained. Karen's fate was sealed about a year later. I saw a Facebook post by a former coworker mentioning that his job with them had ended, so I asked for details. The company experienced a huge loss in revenue. As a result, Karen lost her job as the site I had worked in was closed. Of about the 50 of us that worked in that office, only 10 or so were moved to another location. Thankfully most of the ones I liked were old enough to retire. It did not take a genius to realize that my termination was simply a layoff disguised as a firing.
Thank you everyone for watching to the end of today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please like, comment, subscribe and click the bell icon for more videos. Thanks. I also have lots of other ProRevenge videos on my channel, some of which should be on the screen right now, so please consider checking them out. Thanks and bye.